Hello and welcome everybody to the NBA Trades Zone podcast where we discuss all things NBA trades, past, present, and future. Hi guys, my name is Daniel.
And I am Sebastian.
And today we are going to be discussing putting a team around Giannis Antetokounmpo, a better team given him. Really, we've come up with 3 trades that the Bucks could make that would really help their case with keeping Giannis Antetokounmpo when he becomes a free agent in about 3 years. So right now he's got a decent team around him. He's got a couple of solid players in Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton. Jabari Parker's a free agent, so his situation is going to be very interesting. And he's got a couple of other younger guys such as Brogdon and Thon Maker. However, he could really use a couple more of stars around him, and really that would help the Bucks' case in terms of keeping him when it's time for him to become a free agent.
One of the interesting things I think about Milwaukee is, on paper, they look like they should be a little bit better. It seems like the pieces that are around Giannis are ones that should fit. Their defense should be really good. It's not. Their three-point shooting looks good, but it doesn't pan out in games. So it was interesting to see what are some ways we can improve this team, because it hasn't really worked out. Maybe in the first round of the playoffs where they took Boston to Game 7 was a little bit surprising, but that was also a depleted Boston team. So there's ways that Milwaukee can improve.
Yes, definitely can improve. Those are nice players they have around him, but that's it. They're nice. They're not players who look like he could compete with for a championship. They're not players that will help him take down Boston, help him take down Philly as they grow, help him take down any LeBron James-led team, and definitely not players who look like they could help him take down any great Western Conference teams such as the Rockets and the Warriors. So really he needs some other players around him that will help him win. That will help him win against the great teams in the league. So we've come up with 3 trades here that would really help him, that would put better players around him, and that would work financially, as the Bucks are a team that is already over the salary cap, so they cannot really sign any free agents other than using their mid-level exception. So they really need to get creative in how they construct the roster a little better. So to give you guys a little background, going into this offseason, the Bucks have 9 players on guaranteed contracts. The guaranteed contracts total just over $97 million. So with 9 players and then $97 million, that leaves only about $4 million for them to sign players this offseason. If we're using the salary cap looks like it should be about $101 million. That's the projected total for the salary cap going into this offseason. But taking into account the empty roster spots that the Bucks have with this roster, the 3 empty roster spots that total just over $800,000 each. Really, they're just left with their mid-level exception and their biannual exception. So their mid-level exception should be anywhere between 8 and 9 million. The bi-level exception is definitely less than that. So really, they would have to get creative with some trades, and that's what we've done here, is get creative with some trades. So looking at our first trade is a 3-team trade, and this one is a bit complicated, and it's one that it's one that the Bucks would be benefiting from a couple of situations here. So it involves DeMarcus Cousins, it involves the Pelicans and the Blazers. So in this scenario, the Pelicans would be trading away DeMarcus Cousins in a sign-and trade. And really, the situation here would be is that the Pelicans don't want to pay DeMarcus Cousins a maximum contract, and DeMarcus Cousins will most likely demand just that. He will demand a maximum contract, and that will probably, if he doesn't resign with the Pelicans, that will probably be the reason why. However, with that being said, the Pelicans will want to get something back for DeMarcus Cousins. And really not many teams with cap space will want to sign DeMarcus Cousins, especially for the max. Really, the only team that will be likely to do that will be the Dallas Mavericks. The report came out yesterday that the Dallas Mavericks will probably be willing to sign DeMarcus Cousins. And what type of fit do you feel that is?
I mean, I don't. The Dallas Mavericks are. I think they should be in rebuilding mode, and if they're in rebuilding mode, DeMarcus Cousins is not the best fit. What I think the Dallas should do is they have Luka Doncic, and I'm really high on Luka Doncic, and they just gotta give him the keys of that offense. If you put DeMarcus Cousins there, you're not doing that. DeMarcus Cousins likes the ball. He likes the ball at the top of the key. That's where you want Luka Doncic to have the ball. You want Luka Doncic to be making the passes. You want Luka Doncic to be making running the offense, making the mistakes, learning from them. You want him to build his own confidence so he can become the best player he can be. DeMarcus Cousins is a ball stopper. He's not going to help with the moving of the ball. I mean, he's a good passer, but he doesn't really initiate a good offense. Also, the culture he's going to bring to that team, I don't believe is very good. I don't think as a young team, he's going to, show the Dallas Mavericks how they can become better. Now, I understand that Mark Cuban isn't necessarily in rebuild mode. He's in the whole, I want to win now, so I want to get the best talent. I don't believe that's the best choice. Do I think that's the choice Dallas is going to make? Sure. I don't believe they're going to make the smart choice. Because if they think that they could win maybe a championship with DeMarcus Cousins and Luka Doncic, I think there's no chance that's going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of good points. I agree. I think that same with, in addition to Luka Doncic, Dennis Smith Jr. is a scorer, Harrison Barnes is a scorer, and they're a young team. These guys should be scoring. They should be learning from their mistakes. They should be making mistakes, and they should be learning from them. DeMarcus Cousins is not very accepting of mistakes. Like you said, he's got a piss-poor attitude. He is not what they need for that culture, and he is a bad fit. So, and more importantly, I don't see why DeMarcus Cousins would want to go there. I mean, it would be a little bit of a better situation than he had in Sacramento, but not by much. And it would cause that attitude to probably even worse than it has been with the Pelicans in terms of him, again, continuously receiving technicals, in terms of him starting fights with other players. It's not what he needs, and it's not what Dallas needs. And him and Mark Cuban together, I don't know. It would be fun to watch but I don't see the fit being there. So then with the other teams with salary cap space, including the Hawks, the Bulls, those teams don't make any sense for him or for them. And really, the Lakers are another team that has the salary cap space and might sign them, but we both pretty much agree that we feel about 75% that both LeBron James and Paul George will end up on the Lakers. So really, that only leaves a sign and trade option, and the two teams that make sense are the Wizards and the Blazers. So in this scenario, we got him going to the Blazers in a sign and trade. Now, the Pelicans would like to probably receive CJ McCollum in a trade for DeMarcus Cousins. However, with that being said, it cannot happen that way because DeMarcus Cousins will ask for that maximum salary, and CJ McCollum's contract is worth over $25 million. Now, DeMarcus Cousins, is the fact that his salary this previous season was $18 million. If he's asking for a max salary, it's over $30 million. So his salary is increasing by 20%. Now, in a sign and trade, if your salary increases by 20%, the new team that is receiving your contract is taking on the full $30 million in the trade. However, the old team that is sending you could only take back half of your contract or 125% of your previous contract. So they could either take 125% of half of your contract, or they could take back 125% of your previous contract, whichever one is more. So in the Pelicans' case, the DeMarcus Cousins contract was $18 million, so they could take back 125% of that, which is at about 22 million, more than 22 million, 22 and a half. So really, CJ McCollum's contract is over 25. They can't take back his contract. So
and just to clarify, New Orleans cannot add any filler players. So if they have a player who has a $3 million contract, they can't add him in order to work for the CJ McCollum.
Yeah, and it wouldn't work anyway because now the Pelicans would be over the cap. So the Pelicans can't take on additional contracts because they are already over the cap. Regardless, so they could only take back 125%, nothing more, of that previous contract. So in this scenario, we have DeMarcus Cousins going to the Blazers, signing for the max. Now, the Blazers are sending away CJ McCollum and their first-round pick from this year, which was Anthony Simons. So the deal with that is a team could send away their first-round draft pick if he is not signed yet, and so he doesn't count. His salary does not count in this trade. In the outgoing trade, his salary does not count for the team sending him or for the team taking on his contract until he signs that contract with the team. So in this scenario, he has not signed the contract yet with the Blazers once free agency kicks off. And he's being shipped to the Pelicans. Now, CJ McCollum is being sent to the Bucks. Now, getting back to that, CJ McCollum's contract is over $25 million, so now the Bucks have to send away money as well. So, what they're sending away is Malcolm Brogdon, whose contract becomes guaranteed, John Henson, Matthew Dellavedova, and their own first-round draft pick from this year, which is Dante DiVincenzo. So, same situation in that. He hasn't signed with the Bucks yet, so his contract does not count as an outgoing salary, nor does it count as an incoming salary for the Pelicans. Now, the Pelicans are receiving in this deal Malcolm Brogdon, John Henson, Matthew Dellavedova, and both the Bucks first-round draft pick, which is Dante DiVincenzo, and the Blazers first-round draft pick, which is Anthony Simons. Now, again, the Bucks aren't in... I'm sorry, not the Bucks. The Pelicans aren't in rebuild mode. So in this scenario, they are receiving two first-round draft picks, Malcolm Brogdon, and a couple of veteran players, which isn't an ideal package that they would want. They would prefer a CJ McCollum. They would prefer a Otto Porter from the Wizards. However, both of their salaries would not work. This type of trade would not work. So by receiving the three players that they're receiving, the John Henson, Dellavedova, and Brogdon, whose salaries combine to be just under $21 million, they are meeting that threshold where that they're sending out the DeMarcus Cousins contract, they're counting that 125% of that $18 million from his previous contract, which is 22.5, and now the new salaries they're receiving is just under 22, which makes that trade work. And the two draft picks they are receiving do not count as incoming salary. Therefore, that trade is possible and it does work.
If I am the Pelicans, I don't think I'm making this deal unless Chris Middleton is in the offer. What is Chris Middleton's salary?
So Chris Middleton's salary is $13 million, which does not work in this trade. You could make it work, and I even tried replacing Matthew Dellavedova with Tony Snell, who is a better player. However, Tony Snell is making about $1 million more than Matthew Dellavedova, almost exactly $1 million more, and that would put him just over $22 million. That would put him over